Tonight, one last push for people to evacuate and rescue teams to get in place. Dorian will reach our shores tomorrow.
Sometimes people get a false sense of security. They watch the storm pass. They think, okay, the eye's not coming over us, so they think they're okay.
How homeowners and businesses are preparing ahead of Dorian.
Hundreds of thousands expected to lose power in North Carolina. Predictions and preparations straight from Duke Energy.
We know the coast is going to get battered by Hurricane Dorian, but what is it going to mean for us here in the Triad?
Plus, an update on a Triad EMS worker hit by a car. She lost part of her leg in the aftermath.
You just get over it and you have to keep fighting.
WFMY News 2 at 11 starts right now.
We opened the door to the bathroom. There was nothing left. It was gone. The house was gone.
All the main buildings gone. They're gone. Everything is gone. Only concrete structure.
I think it's over. This is the worst. Yeah, we're done.
It's pretty much helping those that are ill prepared get prepared.
Some lost everything in the storm, others just missed it. Still, with a 300-mile-wide storm, millions in the south are seeing Hurricane Dorian's effects. And tonight, the storm is strengthening. Breaking right now, Dorian has strengthened back to a Category 3 storm as it takes aim at the Carolina coast. More on that in a minute, but first, the emergency response numbers are incredible tonight. 10,000 federal and National Guard troops activated, 40,000 line workers ready to go, and more than 1,200 semi-trucks full of food and water from FEMA. That's the response for 4 states. Some got by without a direct hit. But here in the Carolinas, the threat of serious storm surge is real.
It is the water that kills people. It is the water that is the real danger.
That triple threat of heavy rain, high tides, and storm surge.
North Carolina faces deadly storm surge and inland flooding.
Tim, you've been warning us about it the last couple of days. All that water will lead to a big problem, and it's knocking on our door tonight even stronger than it was earlier.
Chad, it's always about water, wind, and waves. Those are the three things: the rain, the wind that blows around, and the ocean that comes up higher than it usually is. That's the surge. We do have a stronger hurricane, no doubt about that, a Category 3 storm. That sounds like a very big change. What reality shows is that we've gone from 110-mile-per-hour winds to 115-mile-per-hour winds. That's the shift here. The movement is putting it north at 7 miles per hour. The pressure has continued to fall a little bit. It's now about 100 miles to the south of Charleston, South Carolina. Here's the latest satellite on the storm. The eye is well defined, a very large eye in this hurricane as it gets a little bit closer to South Carolina here. And you're asking, when is it going to make that turn to the east? That's what we need to see. That is expected heading into early tomorrow. Winds are already gusting in the 40 to 30 mile per hour range. Nothing crazy yet, but tropical storm force gusts are happening. Hurricane watches are posted for every beach in North and South Carolina. Every one. We do not have tropical storm warnings here, but Raleigh does, and so does I-95. This is the storm surge concern. You see that there, 5 to 8 feet above normal, 4 to 7 feet above normal. All the beaches are going to have a large sea level rise for the next day as the storm tracks up the coast. Here it is, that latest track, Category 3, right near Charleston. It should avoid a landfall in South Carolina. I say should. There's only a tiny chunk of the forecast in the cone there for South Carolina. But it could clip the Cape Fear area with a direct hit right near the Wilmington Bald Head Island area, also over toward the Outer Banks, expecting now a landfall somewhere around the Hatteras to Nags Head area. Winds at that point about 100 miles per hour. How much rain do we see? How much rain does the coast see? And what other impacts do we see from Dorian before it gets out of here? I'll break it down in more detail coming up in a few minutes.
This week it is more important than ever to keep track of the forecast. Our meteorologists are on top of it. Get the latest information on our free app and on WFMYnews2.com. South Carolina is seeing initial impacts from Hurricane Dorian tonight. Check out this video of sand whipping through the air on Folly Beach. Our teams are stationed along the Carolina coast tonight, 2 in Wilmington, 1 in Myrtle Beach. WFMY News 2's Marissa Tansino is live in Myrtle Beach tonight, where she met people who aren't leaving no matter what.
Yeah, Chad, we spoke with several people tonight who aren't convinced it's going to be bad enough to leave here, so they're staying right here and sticking it out through the storm.
We got up this morning, saw it drop to 105 miles per hour. Still, you always have that worry. Why didn't we go ahead and board it up? We have the panels, we have the manpower.
No amount of wind, rain, or storm surge will make Don Coffin turn the other way during a hurricane.
Oh no, I've lived here 40 years and I've never left a hurricane yet. Anything from Hurricane Hugo to Floyd to Charlie to, you know the names.
There are others just like Don who simply refuse to leave.
Well, why would I leave if I couldn't get back?
So they're boarding up. Michael Griggs called in 2 guys who helped him board his home before Hurricane Florence.
Just buttoning everything up, trying to protect people's assets, alleviate having to pay thousands of dollars.
Before they head home to take care of their own.
I'm all right with it. I mean, it is what it is. I can't control Mother Nature. So, I mean, it's going to do what it's going to do.
Storms like Floyd, Matthew, and Florence couldn't do enough to make them go.
I think it'll be all right.
So for Dorian, they will stay. We've seen police, fire, and ocean rescue out here patrolling all day. One thing people need to know is once winds reach a sustained speed of 60 miles an hour, those crews won't be able to come out here and respond. Back to you guys.
Marissa, thank you. Our severe weather coverage extends north to our coast. Jess Winters is in Wilmington this week. She talked to Duke Energy about their plan.
Thousands of Duke Energy crew members from as far as Canada on standby in the Carolinas, ready to respond after Hurricane Dorian hits. Duke Energy spokesperson Jeff Brooks said he didn't have an exact number, but that includes hundreds on standby in the Triad.
We're still kind of finalizing how many we'll send, and we have to wait and see kind of where the damage is, and we didn't need to stage them forward because they're close enough in the Triad. We have about 9,000 total line workers and vegetation crews that are here in the Carolinas ready to respond.
I think the big question that a lot of our viewers have and that I personally have, how many outages are we expecting with Dorian in North Carolina?
We do, though, expect to see about 700,000 or more outages here in the Carolinas. I think a lot of those are going to be east of I-95, but certainly we could see impacts in the Triangle. We could see impacts in the Triad, potentially some minor stuff, but mostly I think that's going to be east of I-95 and in the coastal areas.
Brooks said outages could last for several days because crews must wait for Dorian to safely pass before they can fix anything. Reporting in Wilmington, Jess Winters, WFMY News 2.
Jess, thank you. High Point Electric is also sending some of its workers to the coast. They're driving down utility trucks to help when the power goes out. Those utility teams will be in good company when they get there. Check out this fleet of Duke Energy trucks stationed in Conway, South Carolina. Some came from as far away as Detroit, Michigan. And look at this group moving through Topeka, Kansas. Duke Energy says nearly 9,000 of its workers are ready to respond. Emergency response teams from our area are heading to the coast. Guilford County deployed several EMS strike teams today. They're now in Wilmington and Hyde County. The Winston-Salem Fire Department's Swiftwater Rescue Team also left today. They're set up in Nash County to help anyone caught in the storm. Also at the beach tonight, the High Point Fire Department. They've got a few fire engines and a Swiftwater Rescue Team there now. Greensboro Fire sent its Swiftwater Rescue Team earlier this week. The National Guard is ready to head to the coast. Governor Cooper activated nearly 400 guardsmen. Some are in Greensboro while they wait for the storm to close in. WFMY News 2's Amanda Ferguson met up with them tonight and talked to evacuees staying at UNC Greensboro right now.
Yeah, Chad, whether you're a National Guard member or a student, you're preparing for Dorian. The National Guard Armory sent 3 teams today to the eastern part of the state. About 20 people are now in Durham, Nashville, and Wilson. And they took 4 of these high clearance vehicles that can get through deep flooding to help people who are stranded, about 16 people at a time.
That's what we signed up for. That's what we're out here for, and that's what we love to do. So this is just another opportunity for us to give back.
While they head towards the storm, people like Linnea Nordquist are evacuating. She's in grad school at UNC Wilmington. She and 41 other students are spending the beginning of the year at UNC Greensboro, escaping the storm. UNCW brought them here yesterday. Nordquist is from Sweden and says she's never experienced a hurricane or any natural disaster.
If I think about what can go wrong from now on, it's going to hold me back. So I'm trying just to embrace it and think about the best case scenarios instead and crossing fingers for that.
I think it's safe to say everyone's hoping for the best case scenario. As for the National Guard, they don't plan on sending any more teams right now, but they're ready to send more after the storm as needed, wherever they're needed.
Amanda, thank you. The storm is responsible for at least 20 deaths in the Bahamas. Winds reached 110 miles per hour there, tearing apart homes and buildings. The airport is still flooded from the storm surge. It extends across the Abaco Islands. And check out this view from space. All the turquoise blue that you see right here, all of this is water covering the beaches, streets, and neighborhoods. Many of those areas washed out by the storm. The Prime Minister there says the damage is unprecedented. Florida was spared a direct hit, but still got heavy rain and wind. In St. Augustine, the storm scattered debris along the shore and all the way up to the streets. And look at these pictures from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. A pier toppled over as floodwaters rushed in. After Florida, Dorian brought its wrath to Georgia. This video from St. Simon's Island shows rough surf coupled with bands of rain. And in Savannah, the waves nearly reached coastal neighborhoods. The sand dunes there doing their job, holding the water back. All that video doesn't even scratch the surface of the things that we have seen come out of Dorian. You can watch and read a whole lot more about where Dorian's been and what it did there on our free app or WFMYnews2.com. New tonight, Greensboro police arrested 2 people in connection to a murder last month. 20-year-old Ashad Hill Martin and 24-year-old Vincent Jackson both face first-degree murder charges. Police say they shot and killed a man on Hans Lane about 2 weeks ago. Officers found Christopher Babunga with gunshot wounds. He later died at the hospital. New tonight, a Triad paramedic is opening up about a life-changing crash. Lexington police say a driver intentionally hit Heather Haynes as she was getting out of her ambulance. Doctors had to amputate part of her leg. She told WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty she's not letting this hold her back.
August 17th, Heather Haynes and her partner stopped by this Lexington Walmart to pick up something. As soon as she stepped out of the driver's side door, a car slammed into her. Heather Haynes knew when she answered the call to be a paramedic, she'd respond to some tough scenes, never thinking she'd be the one in trouble.
Just started screaming, and then my partner, he came and helped me, and then he called for help.
Last month, Lexington police say Nathan Fowler hit Haynes on purpose. He was driving a Mustang. She was stepping out of a Davidson County ambulance.
I don't really remember anything after that except for getting in the helicopter and went to the hospital.
Haynes learned just last week several surgeries wouldn't be enough to save part of her leg.
It just got amputated, my last surgery on Thursday, I think it was. I've been mad, I've been sad, but all in all, it gives me a chance to be stronger and show my kids that don't let anything, knock you down. You gotta keep going.
This mother's resilience and fighting spirit, an inspiration to her fellow Davidson County EMTs.
They were awesome.
As she plans to get a prosthetic and get back to her calling as soon as she can.
No matter what you go through, that you can get through it and just be strong and keep doing it.
Haynes will be in the hospital for another couple of weeks doing inpatient rehab. Meantime, the suspect, Nathan Fowler, is facing several charges, including assault with a deadly weapon on emergency personnel.
Well, as the hurricane hits the coast tomorrow, we are going to be right on the edge of getting rain, and I mean right on the edge. I want to show you this futurecast here. Our winds will be picking up throughout the day. By the evening, they'll be gusting between 20 and 30, maybe as high as 40 miles per hour. But look over there. Raleigh likely to get inches of rainfall, and we are barely seeing any. I think we will have a rain band or two moving in from time to time. Could amount to as much as a half an inch to an inch of rain, but that rain mainly east of Greensboro. A very muggy day, a very windy day with a high temperature right around 80 degrees, and those wind gusts up to around 40. You can hold me to that. Stick around. We'll analyze the rainfall and the impacts from Dorian.
97 dogs, all in one woman's house. She rescued them during Dorian. Well, now she's raising thousands of dollars to continue helping them. And a man drove his car into his kitchen to avoid storm damage. Don't miss it. Next. Efforts are increasing to save animals caught in the storm's path. Guilford County Animal Services sent a team to Durham today ahead of Dorian. They're there in case shelters out east need to send animals inland. Guilford County's Animal Services Director went even further, picking up pets near the coast. He's on his way back to the Triad right now. Another great animal rescue story. Remember these pictures from a couple days ago? A woman's home in the Bahamas full of dogs. She rescued 97 of them as Dorian passed over. Some were sick, many were scared. Well, the story and the woman behind it, Chella Phillips, has spread across social media. In the last couple of days, she's raised more than $200,000 in an effort to help those rescued pups. You've got to see this wild picture also making the rounds online. A Florida man parked his car in his own kitchen. He was afraid the wind would blow his smart car away, so he swung open the double doors and drove into the house. Meantime, his wife's car took the garage. And one more great storm story, this one in the Outer Banks. This Pennsylvania couple planned their wedding months ago, of course, but because of Dorian, they had to move it up a couple of days. Bride and groom got the whole ceremony in without Dorian making an unwelcome entrance. And while people work to avoid the storm, the U.S. Geological Survey is getting right in the middle of it to take notes. They're releasing 150 storm tide sensors off our coast to study Dorian's behavior. They'll track everything from wave activity to flood conditions. Scientists will use the information to help craft future storm plans. Tim, anything to help understand and possibly avoid future destruction is certainly welcome.
Yeah, you know, it's stuff like that, research and science that helps us be able to, over the years, predict a major hurricane like this taking a right-hand turn right off the coast of Florida. It's still amazing that that happened and that it was expected, even if it was just 2 to 3 days ahead of time. There's your big eye in the storm. Very, very concerning to see how strong Dorian continues to be. But if you look very, very, very closely, you will start to see in the last couple of frames it is starting to make a slightly northeasterly turn. We're still expecting it to parallel the coast as it moves off to the north and to the east. You might say, how do you know this? How is this expected to really just barely graze the South Carolina coast, even with all that wind and rain? Well, here's a couple things that are steering this system. We have a trough out here to the west. What is that? Well, it's a big area of low pressure. It's kind of cut in, and it was actually pulling the storm closer the last couple of days. Well, now there's high pressure over here that's actually going to pull it to the northeast originally and then farther to the east after that. So we're very confident it is going to make that northeasterly turn. Instead, it would have just come up to the Triad. It's not going to do that. The latest forecast narrows it down even further. The eye will stay just offshore of Charleston, but it will be dangerously close to Myrtle Beach, dangerously close, potentially even directly hitting Brunswick County. That would include Oak Island, Ocean Isle, Sunset Beach, over to Bald Head Island. Wilmington itself at risk for a direct hit as well. They're within the cone, so there's always wiggle room within that cone that the storm could directly hit, and it is expected to hit directly in the Outer Banks with all of its wrath. So it's a big deal storm for all of the coast, especially in the flood prone areas. They're going to get a lot of water that washes ashore here. We call that the storm surge, and there will be a lot of it. Notice Triad, as we are watching the storm barely missing parts of the coast and hitting others, we are on the edge of the rainfall. We're going to be right on the borderline between a couple of inches and nothing at all. Another way to visualize the hurricane, remember they're so large. Everywhere in yellow here, tropical storm force winds. This is at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Everywhere in red, over 75-mile-per-hour winds. Doesn't really matter where the center is, right? They're going to be high winds all along the coast. And that wind pushing all of that water, it's going to rise 4 to 6 feet in the Outer Banks, potentially 4 to 7 feet in the Wilmington area, and maybe even higher than that on the Brunswick County beaches and the Grand Strand of Myrtle Beach. Big deal. For us, we have wind gusts generally in the 25 to 40 mile per hour range. That's not usually a concern, but if it stays that way for a long time, we actually could see a couple downed trees and maybe some power outages. Our rainfall totals here should be rather unimpressive, generally less than an inch, but you go just to the west, or east I should say, check it out. 10 to 15 inches of rain, that's a big inland flooding concern, even if you're away from the immediate beaches. There's that wind forecast, as I mentioned for you. Not a big deal to the west, a very big deal at the coast, and that rainfall as well. It's water, it's wind, it's waves, all three are a triple threat for the Carolinas heading into tomorrow and into Friday morning. After that, the weather gets fine. We have a great weekend ahead. We'll be right back after this.
Believe it or not, the reports are true. Cam Newton is healthy and ready to play week 1. According to Cam himself, there are no shoulder issues, no left foot issues. He's just eager to take the field for the season opener against the Los Angeles Rams this Sunday. Can you believe that we're talking about football right now? Even better news, Newton was not listed on the injury report in any fashion. The team got more work in today on the practice field, and head coach Ron Rivera is ready for Sunday to get here just like everyone else.
No, I still get excited about it. I get excited about every game. I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those things that you know, when the season starts, it's, you know, it's the rush, but, you know, you also got to maintain because you know, hopefully there's going to be 19 or 20 Sundays, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
We sure will. I think everyone's excited. No one more than QB1, whose offseason put a lot in perspective for the 30-year-old.
You know, I feel like a rookie again. You know what I'm saying? I'm having fun, feeling good. And the thrill is still there, man. I'm blessed, and you know, I'm just lucky to be a part of a fan base and an organization, you know, for this same 9 years, and a lot of people can't say the same. I want them to see the joy as if it's day one.
Bucket Hat Cam is the best Cam. Kickoff is so close, just days away from the home opener against the Rams this coming Sunday at 1 p.m. We, of course, will have your complete coverage Sunday night right here on WFMY News 2, your official station of the Carolina Panthers. And as for a team that's still looking for their first win of the season, look no further than the Elon Phoenix. They fell to the North Carolina A&T Aggies on a last-second field goal last week in a game that really could have gone either way. But quarterback Davis Cheek saying, you got to move on because we have more football to play, and his head coach echoes that sentiment.
You know, I took a lot of good things from the tape. You know, I think our kids played really hard. We were resilient. We overcame some penalties, some third and longs on offense, defensively. Kind of dug our cleats in a little bit and forced some field goals. Played some good defense when it mattered. There's a lot of coachable moments on that film too, though. You know, we went into the film room Monday night, made the corrections. I expect us to come back out, you know, this week and be a better football team for it.
Over to the mound, winner take all Game 3. Winner tonight takes home the Appalachian crown, and the Johnson City Cardinals got off to yet another hot start. Top first, John Torres. Not the best contact, but it still gets the job done as it drops in shallow right, bringing home the first run of the ball game. Same inning now, more cards, this time from Malcolm Nunez, who drops in the blooper for the RBI in the 2-run lead. Jump ahead, bottom 3. Royals fight back. Michael Massey with the grounder through the left side to cut the gap to just 1, and then here comes David Holly, drills this shot all the way back to the wall, stays inside though. It'll settle for the RBI double. The Royals would actually take the 5-3 lead, but they let it slip, falling 8-6, and the Cardinals instead win their 11th Appalachian League crown, winning 8-6. We're back after this break.
Category 3 storm. That sounds like a big change. It's really not. It's an increase of 5 miles per hour. Of course, we'd rather have it weakening instead of strengthening. Either way, major storm from the coast of South Carolina tomorrow to Wilmington area tomorrow night. The Outer Banks Friday morning. They start to feel the effects as we're waking up tomorrow. It's about a day's worth of a storm rather than a long one like over several days. But it's not going to be pretty there for us. We do get some gusty winds. We do get some rain, but not as much.
That is good to hear. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
WFMY News 2 at 11 is brought to you by Cox Toyota in Burlington. Take a test drive and you could win $1,000. So before you buy, give Cox a try.